Hey Snapchat, it's day 3 in my series on how to raise venture capital. Days 1 and 2 can be found on snapstorms.com, but I'm going to give you a quick overview here to get started. I reminded people that fundraising is a sales and marketing process, so think of it like a funnel where you're trying to drive people down the funnel. Yesterday, we covered introductions. It matters who you get introduced by. The best people to introduce you to a VC are entrepreneurs they've worked with. But today, I'm going to focus on the first meeting or the first call. When you're asking for an introduction or if you're writing to a VC directly, you want 2 things included: a teaser deck and an overview email. The overview email cannot be a novel. It needs to be 2 short paragraphs describing why your company is so interesting. You need to send a VC a pitch deck in advance of your meeting. It's written in PowerPoint or Keynote, converted to PDF. I'm going to tell you what needs to go in it. Some entrepreneurs send their decks out to VCs in products like DocSend, but I don't recommend it. I know people tell you it's good because that way they scroll through it rather than downloading it. And if you send it in DocSend, you get to see the email address of the person who read it and you get to see which pages they were on. But here's the thing. Your simple goal with the deck is to maximize the chance that you actually get a meeting with the VC. And put yourself in a VC's shoes. Would you really want to open up a whole bunch of DocSends knowing that every entrepreneur who sends them to you is looking at the analytics of every page that you look at? In my opinion, all you're doing is adding a barrier to building a relationship and trust with that VC for absolutely no reason. The teaser deck should be a slimmed down version of the deck you're going to walk the VC through when you actually go meet them in person. You want it to be enough that you get them excited about the market opportunity. How big is it? What's your solution? Why are you uniquely positioned to solve this problem? But you certainly don't want to give away too much of your secret sauce and certainly not too much of your financial information, because you're probably going to send this teaser deck fairly wide to the top end of your funnel. Best will in the world, occasionally these decks actually get in other people's hands. Your job, once the VC writes you back, is to get an in-person meeting. A classic VC trick is to say, why don't we just set up a quick phone call? Here's why they do it. It's much easier to limit a phone call to 20 minutes, much harder when you're in person, and it's significantly harder for you to build rapport with a VC over the phone. Best will in the world, most VCs, most humans on the phone get distracted. They're doing email, they're checking other things. So if they offer you a phone call, try the classic sales trick back, which is, hey, listen, I'm actually going to be in your neighborhood anyway. I promise not to overstay my welcome, but I'd love to do this in person. It's so much easier for me to show my product and demo it in real life. So if you don't mind, I'd love to come by. If they won't see you, I'd do the call anyway, because why not? But at least you should have a signal that they're not yet leaning in, trust me. So what are the goals of a first meeting with a VC? Number 1, you want to build rapport. People buy from people they like and they trust. The same is true of making an investment. People like to invest in people they like and trust. That's why at the outset of the meeting, if you're able to get away with this, I prefer you not to pull out your pitch deck yet. Practice giving an overview of your company and telling someone interesting facts about your company without having to get the deck out. You can build rapport much easier when they're not looking at paper. When I go to raise money from LPs, I literally never take my slide deck out. I just remember all my numbers, facts, figures, and details. In a VC pitch, this is a little bit harder because there's so much that's visual to showing your product and your analytics and your numbers. So at some point, you're going to have to get a deck out. The second goal in a VC meeting is to establish credibility. Credibility speaks to trust. Do they believe that you're a credible leader to pull off disruption in your market? Credibility that you can hire people, credibility that you can ship product, credibility that you can drive sales, credibility that you can raise downstream capital. Number 3, you need to show evidence that you're targeting a big market. If you study how VCs drive returns for our investors, really we can only drive returns if the companies we back become big. So one of the easiest ways for a VC to kill a deal is They convince themselves that you're building a cool product, but how big can this really be? That's a classic mentality of a VC. Niche market is the death of any VC fundraising. So help with market sizing, total addressable market, how much people will spend, how much value there is in your market. Number 4, you have to show them why you have a unique solution. It's often called a USP, unique selling proposition. A classic VC retort is, well, why can't Google just do this? Why can't Microsoft just do this? Aren't there other players that already offer similar solutions? Doesn't Dropbox do this or Box.net? Going back to credibility, you want to show them why you have the experience to deliver this unique solution. Number 5, where possible, you really want to demo your product. Humans are visual thinkers. The more they can see, feel, touch what you do, the easier it is for them to cognitively grasp your value. If you don't have a feature complete product, make sure you do some sort of mock-up that you can walk them through of what the product will ultimately look like. When you demo a product, never show features and functions. Always talk about the value to the consumer that's actually using the product. You want to talk in terms of benefits or differentiation, less about features and functions. Number 6, show analytics or insight. If you've already got usage on your product or you've already got sales, you want to show as much analytics as you can so people understand how people are using your product. To the extent that you're already selling, you want to talk about things like CAC, customer acquisition costs, and LTV, lifetime value of your customers. If it's a product that people purchase multiple times, you want to show things like repurchase rate and average order value. If you have a subscription product, you want to do cohort analysis that shows what the churn rates are over time, or conversely, what the retention rates are. If it's a free product, you might want to show daily active users over weekly active users or dailies over monthlies. And whether you're already shipping a product or not, the other thing you want to show is analysis on the market. So if you can show things like ultimately what your margins are going to be, if you can show what competitor prices are and why you're able to undercut them or deliver better, any way that you can graphically show a VC that you're a quantitative thinker and that you understand markets is important. Most VCs are deeply analytical, and most of our job involves doing quant analysis. So if you bring none of that to the table, you're just not quite speaking our game. Number 7, you want to emphasize the qualities of your broader team. Everybody knows that great companies are not built by a single individual. Here's the importance of demonstrating a team. Great leaders are able to attract great staff, and great teams build great companies. If you show me amazing people who have joined your team, what you're showing me and demonstrating is your leadership in getting these people to join. One of the easiest shorthands for me to judge leadership is the quality of people that surround you. I usually like to show this very early in my pitch deck, almost up front, because it establishes important credibility before you start your pitch. Number 8, you want to show how much money you're raising and what the use of proceeds are. The typical amount of capital that you want to raise is enough to last about 18 months. As an investor, when I meet you, I'm looking at what your burn rate is every month. That's the revenue minus cost, the amount of cash you're burning every month. And I look on a go-forward basis how much you're going to burn over 18 months. If you're, for example, going to burn $2 million over 18 months, but you're trying to raise $8 million, there's a mismatch to me. Why would I fund $8 million if you only need to consume 2? How much money you raise is usually a signal also to the investor of your expectations on valuation. The most common amount of dilution that entrepreneurs take in a funding round is between 20% to 33%. If you tell me you're raising $8 million, at the minimum, I assume you're looking for a 16 pre. At the maximum, I usually assume about 32 pre. 8 plus 16 is 24. 8 divided by 24 is 33%. Similarly, 8 divided by 40 is 20%. VCs are experts at this, so they hear these cues and they at least know the ballpark. They may be wrong, but they're going to make those assumptions. And use of proceeds says what you're actually going to do with the money. In my experience, the best way to show this is a monthly profit and loss account or income statement. I would prepare a 2-year income statement. All it does is walk a VC through where you plan to spend the money, on which type of staff, how many sales, how many engineers, how many marketing, how many GA, and whether or not in this period you expect to have revenues or not. So please remember, the goal of your first meeting is only one thing at the end: to get a second meeting. Remember that it's a funnel. You never go from a single meeting to getting dollars invested. There's some level of engagement that comes next. And tomorrow, I'm going to talk about what that engagement looks like and how to get it.